Apparently, my mic was on mute on the recording, so we're going to start that whole thing over again. So you're welcome if you're here live. Three, two, one, let's go. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the number one show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I am your host, Kenny Dussault, and today we're talking about how I've been fucking up a little bit. Now, when I say that, I don't mean it in any kind of negative way, but let me explain. So, I was just at an event this weekend in Houston where it was a business coaching event. So, I was learning from some very, very high achievers in the business world, my own business coaches, some of the students in that business coaching program, as well as some guest speakers. One, her name is Adley Kinsman. She is a content creator specialist. I can't remember the exact title, but she teaches people how to improve on social media. And two was Lane Norton, who is like one of the greatest coaches on the face of the earth when it comes to just like the health and fitness space. And then my business coaches, Brian Mark, Cole De Silva, Trent Harrison, Janelle Wheel. I won't get into all the names. You probably wouldn't know all of them. But main point, surrounded by some pretty fucking incredible people. Now, I was coming into this event in a good spot. And I'm still in a very good spot. But, I was coming in being like, business is going really well. We got a lot of high level athletes. People are getting good results. Like, we're good. We're good. But as with anybody, you can be doing well and still know that there are areas to improve. And I was like, coming into this weekend, I was like, we've got some stuff we can work on, like just the business as a whole. Things can be better, but like we're doing really well. And then on the first day, Brian, wow, one of my business coaches, stood up to speak, and he was talking about his social media growth and how he like the work he's been putting into his social media accounts over the last couple of years. And the whole time he was talking, the one thing that kept running through my head is, wow, I don't know anything. And again, I mean this in a really good way because I was coming in being like, my social media accounts are doing great. Followers are growing, videos are getting lots of views, lots of athletes are coming into the programs. Things are good. Things are good. But I learned from Brian. I learned the things that he's putting in. I learned the extra mile he goes and like what goes into his process of, building his business and doing the things he does on social media. And immediately I was like, wow, I got to stop thinking that things are good when they're so much better that they can be. And then Adley got up and Adley started talking about the time and effort and intensity that goes into building each and every one of the videos that she puts out for her niche to, again, continue to market herself, continue to continue to build her brand, continue to find clients of her own. And all I could think was, wow, I don't spend nearly that amount of time on the stuff that I put out. I think the stuff that I put out is pretty good. I would say that most of the people here live would hopefully agree. But I was like, wow, I don't spend nearly that kind of time putting that kind of effort into the work that I'm doing on social media. And so I left these two presentations thinking, I just set my game up. There's like the work we're doing is good, but good isn't where it could be. I'm not making the impact that I could be if I just put that much more time and that much more effort into the stuff I'm putting out. I got comfortable. And that happens from time to time. And then in the next day of the next day of the event, the next day of the conference, Lane Norton stands up. And Lane Norton was talking about becoming a master coach. And in my head, I'm like, nah, master coach. Like, I'm good. I'm doing all of these like really good things. My athletes are getting good results. High level people are following me and working with me. Like, I'm doing pretty well in this department. And then he broke down the processes that he goes through with his team, the processes that he goes through with his athletes, the conversations that he has with his athletes when they're falling off track, the depth that he goes into with individuals in his programs when they're struggling to teach them how to succeed in his programs. And my first thought was, fuck, I don't know anything. And again, guys, I say this and I say this over and over again. I do not mean it in a negative way whatsoever. When I'm listening to these people and I'm having those realizations or I'm having those thoughts of like, wow, I don't know anything, I don't mean it as I actually don't know anything. I know that the work we do is good. I know that the level that we've gotten a lot of our athletes to is good. I know that the results we get our athletes are good. But by learning these things from lane, by learning these things from Brian, by learning these things from Adley, and then one other that I'm going to talk about, I just realized how much better it could be. And the recurring theme from the weekend was good is the enemy of great. And if you're walking around thinking, I'm doing well, I'm good, things are rolling, I don't need to think about it too much, or I don't need to, make any changes or tweak anything or make any improvements, you're just fucking wrong. You're just wrong because there are improvements to be made. And if you have high level goals like I do in this industry, and like I know many of the people who watch me do in their careers, then what the fuck are you doing settling for what I'm doing right now is good enough? And on the last day of the conference, Trent Harrison stood up to speak. Now, Trent is a fitness and nutrition coach. He's in the same business coaching program as I am. And the dude is an absolute savage and an absolute stud of a human being. Like, this man's adopted 2 kids. And then he's built a business where he currently working with like 700 people, 500 people or something like that. I can't remember what it was. He has a team of 9 people that work under him. And he was talking a lot about, the quality of the business. And he was like, talking about how like he's built this business, he's getting these phenomenal results for these clients. He's got his team continuously growing and scaling and improving. The culture that he's built, the training, the way that his team operates is just so high level that, again, I thought back to myself and I thought, fuck, thought I was a good leader, but there's so much more that I can be doing for the people that work with me. Right. And every piece of this conference, every day of this conference, every speech at this conference had that recurring theme of just, waking me up and going, fuck, there are so many levels to this game. And I'm so early in those levels that there's so much more work to do, even though I was coming into this conference thinking that I was doing so well. Now, why am I telling you this? Why am I talking to likely a bunch of, MMA fighters, boxers, kickboxers, whatever, and talking about this conference that I was at? You're not focused on social media. You're not focused on, building a business right now. You're an athlete. Because the mindset that I was in is the mindset that I see so many athletes in. You won your last fight. Things are feeling good. There's no big flaw in your game. And you're like, oh, I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm just, keep doing what I'm doing and good things will happen. I'll just be off to the races. I keep winning fights. Everything's all set. And the problem with that is you're comfortable. You're comfortable. And the reason that being comfortable in this case is not a good thing is because, plain and simple, like I said already, good is the enemy of great. You could be doing well right now. You could be winning fights. But what about when you get to the next level? You could be the best person in your gym. Everybody in your gym could be looking up to you, thinking like, wow, how could I ever get as good as this guy? How could I ever get as good as this girl? What about the gym down the road? What about the gym 3 hours north? What about the country that you're in? What about the world? Are you going to be at that same level when you're facing all of them? Probably fucking not. And that was the big realization for me this weekend. I'm coming in thinking everything I'm doing is going so well, big double thumbs up for Kenny. And then I surround myself with this group of people, these business owners making millions of dollars, these coaches that are working with 700 people on their team. And I realized, wow, what I'm doing might be good. But in the grand scheme of things, if I want to be the best in my space, I want my business to be the go-to for the people in this niche. What I'm doing is not nearly anywhere close to remotely as good as it could be. But in my head, I was chilling. I was good. I was like, oh, yeah, everything's going well. These other people that I'm around, they're looking up to me. So clearly I'm doing the right things. But what about the gym down the road? What about the gym in the next town over? What about the country? What about the world? Like, you're not as good as you think you are. And I don't mean that in a negative light for you either, but it was what I kept saying to myself this weekend. You're not as fucking good as you think you are. You think you're good because, things are rolling, business is going well, but how much fucking better could it be? What if your team was 20% better? What if your content was bringing in 20% more eyeballs to have that impact on 20% more athletes? What if 20% less athletes left programs after, 2, 4, 6 months? And I was able to have them for years and make the kind of impact we've been able to make with Mac, who's 7-1 as a pro, and we've been working with for his last 18 fights where he's 16-2. What kind of level could you be at if you stepped your fucking game up? And that's what I want to leave you guys with. You might be doing well right now. There might not be some big issue that you're like, oh my God, this is a huge problem that I really need to fix right now. But what's the next step? What's the next level? Right? In a case like Mac, as an example, the dude's crushing it. He's on a 7-fight finish streak. He has 100% finish rate as a pro. But if he wants to get to the next level and make it to the UFC, what's going to be the next step? Is he just going to be able to keep doing what he's doing and just make it all the way up to a world title? And that doesn't even necessarily just mean training, guys. When you get to Mac's kind of level, understanding things like having a proper manager, understanding things you're doing outside of the sport to build a career versus just building your skill set. These are all little things you got to think about. So if you're earlier on, don't be thinking about managers and all that stuff. Think about building the skill set. Think about building the conditioning. Think about improving the nutrition habits, those basic elements. And then as you get further and further and you're like, okay, all of this stuff's dialed in, I'm going well. What's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? Because what you're doing right now might be working right now, but it's not going to work forever. So start thinking about what the next step is. Start thinking about what area you need improvement in. And then the biggest thing, and I cannot stress this enough, stop at nothing to make it happen. Because that's something that gets in our way sometimes too, right? We think about that next step. We're like, oh yeah, the next step is, I need to improve my strength and conditioning. Oh, but money's tight, so I can't hire a coach. Well, if money's tight, how do you untighten the money? Is that picking up an extra shift at work? And then, that extra day of 6 hours at $20 an hour, $120 a week, $480 a month. Is that right? Even if it's that $480 a month, boom, you got yourself a strength coach by picking up one day of work a week, right? Whether it's that, whether it's getting a new job that's going to allow you to that's going to pay you more, whether it's getting a new job that's going to allow you to work your hours in so that you can train more, whether it's starting a little, side hustle where you're like selling something that's going to be able to bring you in a little bit extra money, like stop at nothing to make it happen. Whatever the reason you're giving yourself is that you can't hit that next level, that you can't make that investment that you need, that you can't, go to that gym that you need to, that you can't do whatever it is you're trying to convince yourself that you can't do. Understand, first off, no one cares. So you need to figure it out. And second, understand that no one's going to do it for you. It's up to you. And if you can fully take ownership of those things, you're going to be able to get yourself so much further in your career. So what I will leave you guys off with is think about what that next level is and keep watching, because I promise you, when you follow me, you're going to start seeing that next level in what we're putting on social media. You're going to start seeing that next level if you're part of our program. So you're going to start seeing that next level in the service and the quality of our coaching. And you're going to start seeing that next level because I'm done being good and I'm ready to be fucking great. I hope you are too. So guys, that's it. That's all. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. If you got anything from that, if you have any big takeaways, I'd love to hear them. Drop a comment if you're here live. Shoot me a message on any of my social media accounts if you are watching this on the replay. As always, I appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you on the next episode.